Hi, I'm Joe Morrison, founder and CEO of Razor Sharp Consulting and creator of the Donor Finder System. Welcome to the fifth of a 9-part video series that will take you through the process of creating a donor funnel, which is a step-by-step system that will help you attract, engage, and convert prospects into donors. Today, we're going to look at creating an engagement engine for your nonprofit. You can't convert your prospects to donors without engaging them first. It all happens on your main website, and portions of your website we call landing pages. We're going to look at how to create these pages, the elements you need, what works and what doesn't. But before we do that, you'll notice that the engagement engine sits dead center in the Donor Finder System plan, right? This is not by accident. It's meant to show how central your engagement engine is to everything you do online. Your website will be the central portal through which everything flows. Without it, you really cannot have an effective online presence. It's really that important. So how do we create these pages? What elements do we need? And what works and what doesn't? Well, to begin with, you need to get into the proper mindset and really understand what a website is supposed to do. Most nonprofit leaders set up a website without having any goals for it, without knowing what it's supposed to do, and then wonder where all the people are. They take the approach, if I build it, they will come, which is totally the wrong mindset to have. Instead, to do it right, you need to build the site with the end user in mind. In this case, it's your donors, perhaps your clients too. But it can't just be for the general public in hopes that someone is inspired and might give to your cause. If you build your website with that frame of mind, you'll be waiting a long, long time for anyone to visit and for anyone to give. Build it for the right audience, and when you do, it really turns your website from totally boring, like trying to teach advanced calculus to a third grader, where everyone is falling asleep and just trying to get through it because it's not really meant for them, to instant celebrity, where people are screaming to get near you, to be excited and energized to be part of what you're offering because it's exactly what they want. Wouldn't it be great to have people clamoring to engage with you and really be interested in what you're doing? Well, that's what your website can be. It can be your engagement engine that powers your vehicle and drives donors to your cause. A jet doesn't move until its engines are turned on and operating, right? A car doesn't move until you turn the key and start the engine. Not only will you learn how to turn the key, you're also going to learn why all the parts of the engine work the way they do. And you'll have an opportunity to build your own engine, or perhaps have someone else build it for you. But the point is, you'll know what kind of engine you want, how it's supposed to work, and why it attracts people to your cause, why it engages them with your work and propels you forward. We're going to start with the engagement engine framework. This really has to do with the structure of your site. Your landing page creates a portal through which your donors are led, providing several calls to action and allowing only limited places that visitors can go. And once you've captured them, you really need them to take action. Keep them engaged and never let them go until they take some kind of action. Your website should have some attraction elements, things like keywords in page titles and content, a navigation map and exact match name, address, and phone number to match the rest of the website, of course, and a responsive mobile-friendly layout. And these items are shown in red. Your engagement elements are shown here in blue. They include things like a clear ask, ideally from a client or a donor, a clear minimal navigation, focus on your donors and clients, not your organization, at least 4 trust icons. These are awards and badges, landing page links that support calls to action, a social media sharing toolbar, I can't spit that out, a social media sharing toolbar, and of course stats that show the need, that support authority, that support urgency and transparency. And finally, your conversion elements are shown in green for money, of course, right? A strong call to action is included there. A magic donor magnet with a call to action. A live chat or opt-in box is important. And additionally, you want to make sure that you include things like the 6 persuasion technique shown on the right-hand side. Research has shown that there are 6 shortcuts to persuading people to take action. I discussed this in depth in the Persuasion Infuser session, but for now, just know that they include things like reciprocity, which is giving something first that is personalized and unexpected. Scarcity. This refers to what your donors stand to lose. That is, how will life be different for your prospect if they don't interact? Items and opportunities always become more valuable as they become less available. Authority. What makes you a credible source or an expert? Consistency. Looking at and asking for small commitments that can easily be made before asking for a bigger commitment. Liking has to do with highlighting similar donors, receiving genuine compliments and testimonials, and cooperation with your donor before you ask them to give. And finally, social validation or social proof. When you show what others are doing or have done, it sets the social expectation for your prospect to do the same thing. In a nutshell, your website really needs to do 3 main things. Number 1, attract your audience. And not just any audience, the right audience. You probably wouldn't want an opera crowd to show up for a stand-up comedy show or vice versa. Knowing who to attract and how to attract them is supremely important. 2, you also need to quickly engage them. You effectively have 3 seconds to make an impression on your donor and make sure they find exactly what they're looking for. We'll look at some techniques to get them engaged very quickly and easily. And then your website, thirdly, needs to compel your visitors to act. I can tell you from years of experience in dealing with nonprofits and building websites that this is the single most neglected element of a website. We go through all the trouble of making a beautiful site that looks nice, but then we forget to have the visitor take any action. It's like seeing cows when you're driving through the country. They're interesting, perhaps, and you might moo at them as you drive by, but you're certainly not going to go and stop and start milking them, right? A good website will not only get the people to stop and listen, it will compel them to take some kind of action. So let's begin this session by understanding first why people leave your website or bounce. Once they've already gotten to your website, it's important to keep them and not have them bounce. And if you know why they leave, you can construct a website that eliminates these elements that cause them to bounce. First and most important, I think, are most websites really are just nothing more than brochureware. What I mean by that is that they're nothing more than an online brochure. And it's like your offline brochure. People may have read parts of it, but it's most likely going to end up in the trash. It's boring and provides no reason for people to become engaged. Second, it's got poor design, no theme, and a blah rather than an exciting user experience. It's complicated and has confusing navigation. That is, you can't easily find things. It's focused on you rather than your audience. Don't take this the wrong way, please, but no one really wants to read about you, as important as you may be. They don't want to read about me. They want to know what's in it for them. Your website has to resonate with them. It potentially has a lack of connection or engagement with your visitor. It fails to convey authority and trust. It might take too long to load or to make a good impression. And as I said, you only have 3 seconds to make a good impression, a good first impression. Now, what should your website have if it's going to be a website that attracts and engages people? That is, it moves them toward you and your goals. Well, first, it should really portray an instant feeling of relevance in meeting their needs, They must be personally greeted by you or an authority in your brand. It has to convey trust and authority. There should be a clear path to the answers and the resources they're looking for. Social proof needs to be highlighted, show them that others like them are satisfied. The site should scream, "You've come to the right place." And it should be or generate a steady flow of subscribers and prospects. If your website is doing all of these things, then you're on the right track. If not, you'll need to work on a few things and get them right first. Which of the items above is the most pressing need for your nonprofit website right now? Usually when I ask this question, people say, all of them. I need to do all of them. Well, that may be true, but work on the things that you need the most. Make sure that, you've got the critical elements. And if you need to work on all of them, work on all of them, but get something done rather than, just getting it partially complete. Your website really consists of a main page, which is often called a home page or a welcome page, and then peripheral pages. It might have a listing of your programs and services, a donation page, a contact page, and an About Us page. And this is really your core website. Very often I refer to something called a landing page. And a landing page is really a part of your website where your prospect first lands when they visit. For most websites, this is your home page. Your visitor clicks a link or types in, www.xyznonprofit.org, and they come to your home page. But a landing page doesn't have to be your home page. Your visitors could land on your donate page or your About Us page. It all depends on where you direct them. I often recommend that your landing page not be your home page, but instead that it be a page set up for whatever purpose or goal you have to engage your visitors. A good landing page might be a blog post or a page dedicated to your donor magnet sign up or whatever that donor magnet might be. Regardless of where your visitors land, however, it's important for you to know how to set up your core website to make it easier to attract, engage, and convert those prospects into donors. So let's look at some of the things that you need to consider. First, you need solid hosting. There are a ton of websites out there, including free sites like Wix and Weebly. And these sites offer free hosting, and you can create a very robust website with lots of cool features. You don't really need any design experience because you work from templates. And in the case of Wix, they have a magic wizard which will create a site for you automatically. It's pretty cool. Now, these types of sites are great, and they're very useful, but you should plan to spend between $5 and $10 a month so that you can upgrade in order to have your domain name connected properly to the site. If you plan to use Google AdWords, you have no choice but to make this domain name connect so that you need to pay for it. Okay? So you're going to have to spend a little bit of money, even with a free site. Probably the most popular websites in the world are WordPress websites. These are blog-type websites, but you can select a wide range of themes and plugins to make your site really soar. WordPress offers free hosting, but you should plan to spend anywhere between $40 and $100 a month for various kinds of upgrades, themes, plugins, etc. Those kinds of things, if you want the most out of the site, of course. Now, no design experience is really needed with a WordPress site, but I found a little training goes a long way with WordPress. It's really not, in my opinion, as intuitive for me as other sites are like Wix or Weebly. Bluehost is another great option. It's not free, but you only pay between $5 and $20 a month for hosting, and you shouldn't have the Google AdWords issue. Bluehost is great for new websites with low traffic. The important thing with any web host really is that you understand what you're getting when you join that particular host. Free is great, but free is usually limited as well. Plan to invest a little bit of money here. It's going to take you a long way. And by the time we're done with this training, you'll see how essential your website is in moving you forward, and you'll see how important it is to invest in this key element. There are really two types of websites that you're going to encounter out there. The first type is where you have to know HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML is the main markup language for displaying web pages and other information that can be displayed in a web browser. It's the code, basically, behind every website. This kind of site is great if you have a coder or a programmer, or if you are a coder or a programmer, or if you're old school enough like me to have learned it when it first came out. But I would think that most of you are not coders and don't know HTML. The next type of site you'll encounter is a CMS website. CMS stands for Content Management System. CMS is a computer program that allows publishing, editing, and modifying content, as well as maintenance from a central interface. A good example of this kind of a site is a GoDaddy site or a Wix or Weebly site. This is most likely what you want. In fact, all of the hosts that I showed you offer CMS websites because it's the easiest type of site for a novice or a beginner to learn to use. Although there are a lot of great advanced features that you also have access to. The point here is, again, know what it is that you're getting when you get it. And I always think it's better to go with simple rather than complicated. And more hosts today are making it simple to create and maintain websites. So let's look for a moment at the tactics you're going to use to attract, engage, and convert prospects to donors. The main elements in your website structure that attract people are having an SEO or a site engine optimization friendly site structure and site themes, as well as a friendly content marketing platform that allows for easy video and hosting, embedding, blogging, and of course, syndication, meaning replication. When you have the right structure with these elements, you're able to generate traffic way, way faster. And so make sure that you've got the right structure in place if you want to attract the most numbers of people. When you have a professional theme or design, when you have easy navigation, social sharing plugins, and what's called content taxonomy, that is, your content is categorized and has tags. It makes you an authority in your niche. And when you're an authority, you will engage more people faster. When you include an easy subscription form, things like hello bars, and you have telephone numbers and special offers, you end up with more qualified prospects and subscribers, which allows you to convert more of those people to donors. So let's look at each one of these elements and what you can do to maximize results in each area. Now, the first thing that you want when you're trying to attract people to your website is you want them to see your message, right? This is, or at least it should be, your goal. If they never see your message, they'll never click the link and never visit your site. So how do we make sure that they see your message? What can we do to have a better than normal chance of having larger numbers of people see our message? Well, the first thing you need to do is to know your audience. That is, know who you're looking for. Too often, we think only about the clientele that we're serving when we create a website. You really need to do in this step is to really focus like a laser on your donors. Make the site as much about your donors as you do about your clients and your programs. And I'm not just talking about, lists of partners that give to you. I'm talking about meeting their real needs, giving them information and education, and engaging them in meaningful ways. If you want to attract donors, you have to give them something that speaks to them. Understand, of course, what the perfect visitor looks like. What actions do they take on your website? Where do they go? What pages do they visit? What articles do they need or do they read? Construct in your mind what a perfect visitor looks like and how they act. Solve a pain or frustration of your visitor. When you show your visitors how you relieve their pain, they'll automatically emotionally connect with you on a deep level. And this connection is essential to getting them to act. You can also emphasize a passion or a dream of your visitor and show how you help people realize those dreams. Dreams and passions are more than just nice, fluffy feelings. What you need to understand about dreams and passions is that they really do cause people to act. People spend loads of money trying to fulfill their dreams. Why not make them spend that money with you? Now, fundraising is really all about values. People have values and organizations have values. And when the two match, money tends to flow. Connect with values and you'll self-qualify a lot of potential donors. Understand your visitors' objections and then address them. If you can overcome their objections before they even raise them through good design and good navigation and great emotional content or stories, you're halfway to converting a prospect to a donor. Next, you'll want to be sure that you link your mission to your results. Your mission is what you accomplish, not what you do. A statement of what we do lacks movement, it lacks will, it lacks force. It assumes that we're providing a bland, ongoing service. Mission is all about what you will accomplish for your community or your clientele in the short term. What change in behavior will there be? And so your mission is not to do the work of programs, but to actually accomplish some visible change, to see things be different in your field, or to see things be different in your clientele. Show the results of your work. When you show results, you create in your visitors a sense of, hey, it looks like you feel the same way I feel, and you're doing something about it. Make visitors feel good about going on a journey with you. Fundraising doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it doesn't usually happen immediately. There's always a sort of a dating period of some kind. Make your visitors feel good about the first date, and they're more likely to go on a second date with you, and perhaps even a third and fourth. Understand your own uniqueness. If you don't understand what makes you different than other nonprofits, you'll never convince other people that you are different and that they should invest in you. Think about it. And show it, of course, on your website why a prospect would want to invest in the unique kinds of services and programs and work that you do. Always share before and after stories that are emotional. Use videos and testimonials that pull at people's heartstrings, because people's wallets always follow their hearts. When you show results for your clients, you show results for your donors by extension. How you change lives in your clients will resonate with your potential donors. If the things you're sharing resonate, the visitor most likely will engage with you and become a donor. Although I have a whole module on creating your donor magnet, I need to remind you that to attract people to your site, you need to have a donor magnet. And a donor magnet is simply an irresistible but very ethical bribe, for a lack of a better word, offering a specific chunk of value to a prospect in exchange for their contact information. Your donor magnet needs to show impact, which stands for important, moving, proven, actionable, can't be solved alone, and time-friendly. When you create a donor with these elements, or a donor magnet with these elements, it not only is impactful to your donor, it is impactful to your bottom line too. Be specific. Your donor magnet simply needs to solve a specific problem with a specific solution for a specific segment of your market. Provide a valuable giveaway. The donor magnet is the giveaway, but make sure that it's valuable. Don't give away a piece of junk that no one wants. If you give your donors something valuable, they will assume that your organization is also valuable and will more likely invest in it. Always stretch the gap. By showing people that your donor magnet is only one part of a bigger system, you leave them wanting that next part, and that's stretching the gap. Be creative. Your donor magnet doesn't need to be long, it doesn't need to be lengthy or complex or time-intensive to create. As a matter of fact, a long and complex donor magnet will likely convert very poorly. But get creative and offer something that people will be excited about consuming. New and different always sells better than old and the same. There are lots of things that can be a donor magnet. Think about what works best for your audience. Let's move on to the second part of your website funnel, engaging people. Basically, this just means that someone interacts with your brand, content, or media, such as reads a blog or watches a video. It can also mean that someone likes you on Facebook or participates in a survey. There are a wide range of engagement activities that a visitor to your website can do. And engagement really means taking action, which is what you want every visitor to do. Now, there are a number of things you can do with your website to ensure that you get maximum engagement. First, like attracting a visitor, engaging with them also requires that you really understand what the ideal user experience looks like. This means your site should reflect your brand, whatever you have defined that brand to be. Everybody knows Starbucks because they've been branded so well. You know that Starbucks represents coffee. What does your nonprofit represent? Well, that's your brand. Your website needs to convey trust, experience, or expertise. Starbucks does one thing really well, right? They provide beverages. And yes, other snacks and food items, but primarily coffee. It's even in their name. Their branding screams that they know what they're doing when it comes to giving you a coffee experience. When creating the ideal user experience, think about what colors and text you're going to use. If your logo uses green and black, don't create a website that primarily features purple and yellow. That's not to say your website can't contain other color schemes. Just know how color affects people and what those colors and text choices represent. Next, when it comes to navigation, don't make your visitors think. Keep it as simple as possible. Guide them where you want them to go. Your navigation should be consistent throughout your site. Don't make people click a button in one place and then do something else in another. Don't change the location of your navigation buttons on each page. Keep them the same on every page of your site. Keep your navigation simple. Less is more when it comes to navigating a website. Too many choices equals no choices because people will be confused on what they should choose to get them where they want to go. Your navigation needs to be visible. Don't make the buttons or text so small that you need a magnifying glass to read it. Have it be prominent and clear. And of course, your navigation needs to be actionable. That is, people should feel compelled to click a link, not because they want to find out what's there, but because they know that what they're looking for will be there. So many websites focus on the programs and services of the nonprofit or its founder or leaders and forget about the audience. Your audience needs to be front and center. I'm sorry to say this again, but your website is not about you or your programs. It's about your visitors. Give them what they want. Design your website to reflect your clients and your donors' personas. Create your content so that it addresses their needs, not yours. And as always, communicate your results. That's what transformations are that you make in other people or in situations, and explain them on your site. Now, as most people know, a good amount of the world's internet traffic is shifting toward mobile devices at a very fast pace. No longer is it safe to assume that a visitor to your website will be using a traditional desktop or a laptop computer. There's a good chance that she'll be using a tablet or a smartphone. There are a number of reasons why you want to make your website mobile friendly. Mobile usage is on the rise. Currently, more than 61% of American adults own a smartphone. And almost 60% of all website traffic is from mobile devices. Did you hear that? Almost 60% of all website traffic is from mobile devices. In fact, there are currently more mobile devices on Earth than there are people. And every month, mobile usage continues to grow. So every month, more and more prospects and donors will view your website from a mobile device. If their experience viewing and interacting with your site is poor, they'll likely have lower opinions of your nonprofit, and they'll also be more likely to visit a competitor's site that is mobile friendly. Shopping on mobile devices is steadily growing. Online shopping is easier than hopping in the car and driving to the store, and it's even easier if you can do it in your favorite chair while watching TV. 80% of consumers regularly use their smartphones to shop online, and 70% of shoppers now use mobile phones when in stores during the holidays. What this means for nonprofits is that if your services and donation options aren't easy to view from a phone, you're missing out on an opportunity, because if they're shopping, they can just as easily be giving. Social media increases mobile visitors. Over 55% of social media consumption now happens on mobile devices. So sharing links from social media sites like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Google Plus to your website will mean even more traffic and viewing of your website from mobile devices. Responsive sites improve SEO rankings, site engine optimization rankings. Mobile phones now have a separate Google search algorithm. So just because your site ranks high via a desktop search doesn't mean it will continue to rank well if someone does the same search on their phone. And the issue becomes even more critical when you consider the fact that more people conduct mobile searches now than they do desktop searches. Responsive sites provide a better user experience overall. There are plenty of practical reasons to implement a responsive website, but they all connect back to the goal of providing a better user experience for your audience. A responsive site means no more pinching and zooming and no more side scrolling to see an entire site that doesn't fit on a mobile screen. And a better user experience reduces bounce rates. It boosts website conversions and improves your brand perception. And finally, the most disturbing stat about the growth of mobile usage is that 75% of Americans bring their phones to the bathroom. Now, that's certainly gross, I know, and it may also be an indicator of the downfall of mankind, but it's true. And if people are going to browse from the restroom, you can at least provide them with a positive user experience. In order to become an authoritative site, you need to prove that you are an authority in your field. No one wants to listen to the 300-pound doctor smoking a cigarette telling you that you need to lose weight and stop smoking, right? Make your website prove to your visitors that you're an expert and know what you're talking about from personal experience. One way to do this is to use as many trust icons as you can muster. Trust icons include logos or badges from things like associations, memberships that you might have, certifications to places like GuideStar and top nonprofits, media icons, social media badges, security certificates or security logos. Transparency, meaning your list, that you list your 990s prominently so people can find them easily, and you're clear on how you raise money and how you spend money. And then, of course, Visa, MasterCard icons, which show that you're not some fly-by-night entity, but have a secure accounts with other merchants who can process those cards. The next thing you can do to engage visitors is to leverage the power of social validation or social proof. Don't fall victim to the empty restaurant syndrome. You know, when you walk into a restaurant and it's empty and you wonder whether it's any good, a full restaurant usually means it's popular and the food is probably pretty good, right? So show your website to be popular by using testimonials from clients and donors, including reviews from trusted sites like top nonprofits, and using expert endorsements. If you're a cancer organization and you have medical doctors saying how great you are, you'll appear to be much more legit than if you don't. Don't forget to integrate social media into your site as well. This is a small thing, but it has a huge benefit in validating you as an important entity. Use Facebook and or LinkedIn fan boxes, which are really just widgets that you embed on your site. Be sure to always add social sharing icons. These are different than the like us on Facebook icons that you so often see. A social sharing icon actually lets you as a visitor share the page with your own content on your own social media sites and allows you then to reach a much bigger audience than you can ever reach on your own. And then always allow blog comments, even if you don't have a blog. Most sites allow you to allow others to include comments on that page or that piece of content, just like you see on almost every blog that now exists nowadays. If your website's going to be relevant at all, use multimedia wherever possible. I don't mean to disparage your visitors, of course, but you have to assume that they're lazy. There's no other way to say it. Videos and other multimedia allow people to watch your content rather than read it, and it makes it so much easier for them. That's not to say all of your content needs to be multimedia, but just realize that text-only websites are so 2008, okay? They're behind the times. Make sure yours is more current than that. Use great photos and graphics. Include videos and slide shares wherever you possibly can, and make the user experience almost like being there. With the tools that exist today, there's no reason for your website to be boring. Use whatever tools are available to make your website come alive. Finally, don't forget to measure your engagement. I know this sounds boring, but I once had a boss that used to say that you can't expect what you don't inspect. I never really understood what that meant until much later in life. But if you expect great results from your engagement, you need to inspect or measure whether or not you're getting those results. It's easy today and free if you just use Google Analytics. And some of the things you'll want to measure include things like time on a page, pages per visit, bounce rates, and how many social shares that you might get. Ultimately, we all want to convert our visitors into donors. And that's the ultimate engagement activity, right? But in the more general sense, when we use the word convert as it relates to our website, all we're really saying is that we want them to take a desired action, to respond in some way to a call to action. So let's take a look at some of the things we need to think about when it comes to conversion. Let's talk for a moment about why conversion is so important. Why don't we, or why do we want people to take action on our website? Well, first and foremost, it generates qualified subscribers, prospects, and donors. What do I mean by qualified people? Well, when they take an action, they are self-determining, self-qualifying that they want to engage with you. It's their choice. And once they've made that choice, it makes them qualified for whatever comes next. Remember, you won't get any donors to your site and until your prospect, of course, takes some kind of action. If you ask them to give and they don't give, they aren't a donor, plain and simple. So action is a criteria for becoming a donor. Conversion is also important because it provides permission from your prospect to begin interacting or cultivating them. And once you have their permission to contact them, you can do that over and over again until you move them to the next level, whatever that next level might be. And of course, conversion is important because it provides an example for others to follow. Nobody really likes to be the first to do something. And when you can show what others have already done, and that others have already taken certain actions, and of course the world didn't end when they did it, then they're more likely to follow suit. They're more likely to do what others have already done. So let's do a little math to emphasize why conversion should be important to you and to your bottom line. Let's say that you're able to create enough traffic to your website to account for 10,000 visitors, which is pretty easily achievable. In my case study, I show how the first client who used the system went from receiving 10,000 visits to their website a year to about 10,000, actually more than 10,000 visitors a week in a few short years. So it's not unreasonable to assume that you yourself can do something similar. But regardless of the time frame, let's say that you get 10,000 visitors. With just a 1% conversion rate, you can count on about 100 subscribers or prospects. And let's say that about 1 in 10 of those becomes a donor, which seems to be, I think, about the national average. So our 10,000 visitors with a 1% conversion rate turns into 100 prospects. And if 1 out of 10 of these prospects becomes a donor, we end up with 10 donors. And for the sake of argument, let's say those donors give on average $100 each. Well, we've raised $1,000. Good job. Now, let's say we move up to a 3% increase in our conversion rate. It's 10,000 visitors at a 3% conversion rate means you'll get 300 prospects. Out of those prospects, you'll get 30 donors with an average gift of $100. That brings your total to $3,000. Now let's say we increase your conversion even more. It's 10,000 visitors at a 10% conversion rate means you get 1,000 prospects, which, by the way, shows more activity on your site and increases your social validation as well. And out of those prospects, you get 100 donors with an average gift of $100. Well, that brings your total to $10,000. Now, let me ask a question. Would you rather have $10,000 or $1,000 from the same number of visitors to your website? Would you rather have $10,000 or $1,000 from the same number of visitors to your website? I heard you. I really did. You said $10,000. Don't deny it. I know you said it. Well, that's the power of conversion. The higher your conversion rates, the more money you're going to raise, plain and simple. So you want to do everything you can to increase your conversion rates. Now, every website has what's known as conversion leak. Visitors leave the site without taking action. We also talked about we're calling them bounce rates, right? Let's look at why this happens. First, like I said before, it tends to be a lack of focus. There's too many options, which equals no option. Too many choices equals no choices. A lack of incentive or a compelling offer could be the cause, which is why we're going to fix that with our donor magnet. It's too difficult to complete a goal or take an action. Simple is always better. We're not measuring our conversion rates and adjusting things to get our conversions even higher. All of these things are easily correctable, and if you follow the tactics I'm teaching you, you'll have a very high conversion website. In order to make sure, I want you to consider doing the following things. First, think of every page on your website as a landing page, and then try to create that page as if it is a landing page. And what I mean is make it simple. Make it a simple page focused on a single topic or a single keyword. Be sure each page has a specific action or a goal. Make those goals or actions easy to accomplish. Measure your goals or conversion rates on each page. Make the page streamlined with most other options eliminated. Use an incentive, otherwise known as a conversion magnet or a donor magnet for opt-ins to your email campaign. Be sure your design elements and your offers are tested and that they work. And feel free to use as many conversion elements or persuasion elements on a single page as you'd like. Next, I want you to capture your leads or your prospects with forms, which can be pop-up forms or simply embedded on your site, like this one is. Realize that your prospect capturing form should integrate with your automated email. So pick a provider that does that. Good ones include things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber, or even more robust systems like Infusionsoft. This is absolutely critical for building your list for follow-up, especially if you plan to automate that follow-up, which is what I recommend. You only need a simple form. Name and email is more than enough. Embed your forms in your sidebar, in your content, and really on every single page that you possibly can. Now, I know we dealt with this before, but it's an essential element in converting prospects to donors, and so I'm going to keep repeating it. Be sure to have a good donor magnet. It can be a guide, an ebook, or even a video. Remember that people don't give up their email freely. They have to be convinced to part with it and convinced that it's worth it. Adding a premium like a discount or other valuable item can very often double your conversion rates. Your donor magnet will establish you as a trusted authority in your field. And you can always combine your articles or blog posts into a donor magnet, or even outsource your content to someone else if that's not something you're comfortable doing. I'd recommend two very inexpensive options, either Odesk.com, Odesk.com, which is a virtual assistant company that works on a per project basis, or Fiverr.com with two R's, Fiverr.com, where you can get almost anything in the world done for $5, which is a base rate, or $5 increments. If you don't feel comfortable creating your donor magnet, just have someone else do it at one of these two sites. And it's cheap. It's very inexpensive. It's quick. And most of these people can produce amazing things that you'd never be able to do yourself. Okay, because these people, in most cases, do this for a living. It's coming from someone who's done it before, and hopefully understands what it is you're looking for. And there are lots and lots of assistants that can help you either with Odesk or with Fiverr and create all kinds of materials. You won't believe the kinds of things that people will do for $5. It's so cheap and so quick that I often use it when I'm trying to create something, some kind of marketing piece, or I need a project done pretty quickly. It could be SEO optimization. It could be website design. It could be a brochure. It can be all kinds of things. It could be an email creation, an email sequence. There are people out there who will do all of those things for you. Now, a highly effective way to eliminate conversion leak is to automate your cultivation or your contact sequences. And you can create triggers in your email system like MailChimp to send an email to anyone who's gone to a specific web page, for example, but didn't download your donor magnet. Then you can send a different email to people who got the donor magnet but didn't sign up for your webinar. And you send another email to people who sign up for the webinar but didn't donate to you or buy your stuff or whatever is next. So think about it. If you wake up and you're stuck on, level 2, whatever that might be for you, and you get, a nice email that's offering you the next step, maybe you forgot, then you're more likely to click that link and to go to the next step, right? Yeah, so it's just a reminder, and automated email sequences allow you to work when you're sitting on the beach. Allows you to do things when that can happen immediately and automatically that you would normally have to interject yourself for. So I highly recommend an automated cultivation sequence. All of the cultivation or contact in this system can be automated with your prospect, constantly moving them along to the next step. And of course, we're ultimately looking to get them to a point where we request a donation and they make a donation, right? So we're constantly moving them along to the next step after the next step after the next step. So some important things to remember when sequencing your automated emails are things like realize that just because you need money, that's not a sufficient enough reason for people to give money. There has to be some connection to your cause first. Just because you need it doesn't mean they will give it. So make that connection a strong connection. Donors usually start with test gifts. Remember this, to see how you're going to use the money and how you're going to interact with them. If you get them to take an action before asking them for money, for more money or a bigger gift, they're more likely to trust you and be more eager to make that next gift. When you automate your follow-up, you're able to cultivate more prospects and get more donors without investing any more of your time. And that's time you can spend on other things. So this frees you up tremendously when you automate your cultivation sequence. And we look at that really in detail in another module. Don't forget to include an online help or chat feature on your site. This kind of feature really increases conversions, from what I understand, by 10 to 20%. believe that or not, that anything that can increase your conversion rates, you want to do. And just a simple little sort of chat feature, help support feature, really drives up your conversion rates. If you don't have the staff or the desire to be available for a help desk or a chat feature like this, simply outsource it to a company. You might be able to find one on Fiverr or Odesk, or find a virtual assistant there that can help you, or just do a Google search. But you'll probably pay between $10 to $15 per qualified prospect if you decide to outsource it to a company. Now, if you don't have the money, and many small nonprofits don't, consider automating your help desk with software. And there are a wide range of software that can help you do that. Or potentially, you have one thing that the business world doesn't, and that's volunteer help. Most volunteers want to be helpful, and a help desk is a good place to use this kind of free labor, because they can do it from the comfort of their own home or the comfort of their own smartphone. Like your engagement activities, it's important to measure, as I've already said, your conversion activities as well. Once again, you can measure most conversion activities with Google Analytics. If you have a WordPress site, many different WordPress plugins are available. Just do a Google search for them, and you'll see tons of them that are available. Be sure to measure your conversions only with valuable, high-quality offers. You don't need to measure conversions on every single page, but just on those pages where you're really trying to offer something really important, like your donor magnet page, for example. And then realize that measuring conversions may not work with some sites, depending on who your host is and how it's set up and how it's designed. It really depends on a lot of different factors. But if it doesn't work with your website, really you probably want to consider moving to a different host or a different service provider, so that Google Analytics and Google Conversions does work, because it's really important to measure these things and to know what kind of activity is happening. I want to direct your attention back to the work the work engagement frameworks. I provided you with a page where you can develop your own website launch plan. Answer those questions and you'll be well on your way to having all the key elements in one place to get started. It's a simple tool to use, and I know you'll love it. The bottom line to creating your engagement engine is that your website can always be improved. You have to have that in your mindset, right? It can always be improved. If you don't have a website, get one today. Don't feel that you have to do everything at once, of course, that I've recommended. Start with some small changes, some small development activities, and then just keep building on it over time. See what works for you and what doesn't. Eliminate or change something that's not working for you. Don't feel that you have to wait for perfection on your website before you launch it. Otherwise, you'll never launch it, and you'll be in the same place 3 months from now as you are today. As I've said before, 90% complete is the same as 0% complete. Get it launched. No matter what it takes, even if it's not perfect, something is better than nothing. Okay, so things are really going to get interesting in our next training, the Fast Lanes Donor Highway. I'm going to show you how to create 5 fast lanes that will drive prospects down your highway with more efficiency and more speed than you can possibly imagine. And this is going to ensure that your prospects get exposed to the right message in the right place at the right time. This system is really simple, and it's easy to launch very quickly. And I think this session is really going to be great for you. I know you're going to love this one. But before we do that, make sure you download your Engagement Engine framework and fill it out. Creating a great website and landing pages will ensure each of the 5 fast lanes leads somewhere productive. So if you haven't done this part, you're not going to be able to drive people anywhere. So make sure you get this part done first. You don't want to sort of have to back into it later. So make sure that you do it now. And as always, please voice your concerns or your comments below and in the Donor Finder System community, and let me know what you really thought about this session, the Engagement Engine session. I honor you for taking the time to complete this video training and for learning how to grow your nonprofit. I look forward to our next time together. Bye-bye.